live with, you can choose between Senora, which is just an older lady who usually kids have already gone off somewhere. And then there's like a young couple, and then just families with children. And then there's also the dorm experience. And I'm going to talk about the housing, the homestay, and Nelia will talk about the dormitory experience. I included this video picture, which is a typical sandwich of what you would get for lunch if you didn't have lunch with your homestay family. They'll send you this sandwich and then you'll be on your way. Otherwise, your lunch is like your typical, it's like our dinner. So it's great if you can like have a homestay family who will cook you different kinds of meals, and you can talk to them during the meal setting. Otherwise, they'll give you like toast for breakfast and smaller dinner. So that's kind of nice. All that, and then there's this woman called Nancy Merchant who works at the CIE program in Seville, and if you're unhappy with your homestay family, which happens, you know, a couple of people have problems, so know that place, so she read it. So it's a good experience, I think.
I chose to live in a dorm with other Spanish kids. Like most of the kids that lived in the dorm were Spanish students at the University of Seville, and just a couple of like Americans scattered around. But if you do that, like your roommate, like you stay in a room, and it's actually really nice. It has like its own bathroom, but your roommate has to be like another American, which is nice because like you can get tired of speaking Spanish all the time. But our dorm had like a little dining hall, and for your classes in Spain, like in the middle of the day, it's like siesta and food time, so you get like there's no classes during that time. So I would just go back to the dining hall, and like they would give you food, and sometimes it was good, sometimes it was like, but we definitely got like pretty good food sometimes. And the dorm was pretty nice. You got to talk more a lot to the other Spanish students and learn a lot of slang and learn like where they go out at night and not just hang out with Americans all the time, which sometimes when you live in a homestay, you have to do that more. But that was nice.
Okay, and then travel, of course, is a big part of why people study abroad, and usually students don't just stay in Spain, and then in the fall semester when I went there, less like kind of vacations that you'll get, but you definitely have a lot of time to just go throughout Europe if you have the funds and that's what you want to do. If not, you can just travel all throughout Spain because every place in Spain is so different and really unique. So this was just some of my personal advice if you're heading out there. And also one thing to consider is the euro versus the dollar, because I definitely spent a lot more money than I thought I was going to spend there. So if you want to ask questions about that later, that's fine.
I did a lot of traveling, mostly in Spain. I went to Barcelona, Madrid, actually Andrea went to Madrid, and like southern Spain too, which is great. But it definitely is nicer. It's a little, when you go in spring, you stay there a little longer. Like I went from January until May 19th, and then, but I think it's better because you get more time to experience it.
I left for Greece in September, and I was looking forward to it all summer. I had a very clear picture in my head of how it was going to be. You know, I was going to lie on the beach, go to class sometimes. I was going to, go out all night. And I got there, and it was not even close to that at all. It was really, really hot out. It was dirty. It was just gross. The city was so congested, and I was like, screw this place. I want to go home now. I want to go home where I know, like, I can read the signs, everything works like I want it to. So when I first got there, I was very, very homesick, and it was not even close to my expectations. The city itself actually does remind me a lot of Boston. It's small and really congested, and there's a lot of students. There's like 5 or 6 colleges, including ACT, which is where I went. And it's right on the water, which is nice. And people from Thessaloniki are really, really proud of the fact that they're from Thessaloniki, which reminds me a lot of people from Boston. So So if you ever, assume that they're from Athens or anything like that, yikes, watch out. So it's in the north of Greece. It's the second biggest city behind Athens, and it's about 3 hours south of Bulgaria by car and about 4.5 hours from Turkey, which are two places that I was able to go when I was there. And the school itself was an adjustment as well. It's really, really small. We like to call it high school because it's only about 400 undergrads and one building, which I liked sometimes and I didn't, but in the end I ended up liking that it was so small because it made us all very, very, very close, the study abroads and the students that we met that were there. So there were a lot of pretty wealthy Greek students because private university, public university is free in Greece, but you have to test into it, so it's very competitive. So the private university, you see a lot of wealthy Greek students whose parents could afford to send them there. But then we also had a lot of students from the Balkans who worked really, really hard to get scholarships. So we had Serbians, Bulgarians, people from Macedonia, or Fyrom, which is what they call it. So it was an interesting mix of people, and there were a lot of really young people, a lot of older people. So, and the school itself actually is in Pylea, which is like a 15-minute drive from Thessaloniki. So they gave us a free bus every morning and night, or you could take a cab. So it would be like living downtown in Boston, going to school at like Bentley or Babson, which was kind of tricky sometimes because if you missed the free bus and you didn't feel like hailing a cab, or you didn't feel like spending money on a cab, you didn't go to school, which wasn't a huge problem. But and as far as housing goes, we were put in apartments with all the study abroads. We were downtown, which was really nice, about a 5-minute walk from the waterfront, which is where a lot of the bars were. And restaurants. So that was really nice, and I'm glad that we lived downtown instead of on campus because we would have been really separated from the city. As far as traveling, it was, again, people go on study abroad so they have the opportunity to travel. And that was really nice. I was able to go, I've never been out of the United States before this. I haven't even been to the west coast of the United States. So I was able to go to Istanbul, I went to Prague, we did a backpacking trip all throughout Eastern Europe. I was able to go to Spain for a weekend, Italy. So it was just incredible. And there were times when, you want to get out of Greece for a little bit. So it was nice to be able to travel. And the Greek lifestyle, they were talking about the slow pace of life. Greek time, you can actually say like, Greek time's about half an hour to 45 minutes behind what you would expect. So for me, being a very uptight Bostonian, it was really, really hard at first because, you tell someone, we made friends with quite a few Greek students. You tell them, all right, I'll meet you here around 1. You could see them, you could expect to see them like 1:40, 1:45, strolling in, cigarette, coffee in their hand. So that was an adjustment, certainly. And as far as buses, there was a public bus that ran from downtown up to school, but, good luck with that because I used to get pissed when the tea was 5 minutes later than I thought it would be. And so to wait for a bus that never came, or, the bus drivers would stop off and have a cigarette with their friends. And so it's expect the unexpected, don't have an itinerary at all. And that's something that changed me for the better, I think, because I'm always like structure, and there's no structure at all.
I was a little worried when I got there, but I learned so much Spanish from them because all they did was talk to me in Spanish. They didn't know English. So it was a huge learning experience for me, especially with my family. My madre didn't know any English. Most of the homestays, which is, I think through Northeastern is your only option for Alicante, most of them do not know English. My padre knew a bit of English because he hosted, I think, eight other students besides me. And so they were very comfortable with the homestays, and he wanted to learn English. He begged me to teach me English, or teach him English. And so I think I learned much more Spanish. I learned a ton of Spanish just with my homestay. You get out of your homestay when you put into it. It's definitely true. I learned a lot of commands because I listened to my parents, or I listened to the kids. They would yell at me to do something with them. And I was playing sorry with my little sister Maria, and she was cheating, and I couldn't even tell her that she was cheating because I didn't know how to say it in Spanish. And then my padre would play with her, and he would call her out on the cheating, and then there would be a fight, and it was kind of interesting. But I learned how to say cheater. But I think it's tramba, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, it's called a cheater. But so that's like you wouldn't learn. I guess you could, but I learned a lot more just speaking with my family. I spent a lot of time with my family. I also spent a lot of time traveling, so it was really easy to do both. They were really good about just kind of deciding how much I wanted to get involved with them. I decided to kind of get really close with my family. Otherwise, they just let me have their space, which most of the students, either they were really close with their family or they were kind of like a place to stay. I mean, they really didn't force you to spend time with them, but they were more than happy to include you if you wanted to go where they were going.
As far as Prague in comparison to other European countries, Prague's very cheap. The Czech crown is a lot better against the dollar, well, for us anyway, than the euro is. Travel opportunity is awesome because it's right in the middle, smack in the middle of Europe. Famous nightlife. The nightlife goes on all night until sunup, and the culture is totally different from America. It's more different than a lot of the Western European countries. That's the St. Vitus Cathedral. It's located in the Prague Castle grounds. It's the biggest castle in the world. Charles University is absolutely gigantic and extremely old. 7,200 undergrads and 29,000 kids that are graduate students. It's ridiculous. But there are 750 students just studying English language programs, so there's a lot of English that goes on. There's a computer lab in the library that I've never used, and there's a cafeteria that serves pretty cheap and quite good food. You get an entire meal for like 75 crowns, which is like roughly $4. Took 3 classes: Czech language, digital culture and art, and intro to linguistics. Czech language is extremely complicated. Intro to linguistics was great. I'm interested in linguistics. And digital culture and art was like, I sat and looked at web pages all day and got mad. So I was happy. Yeah, register for classes quickly because the good ones fill up. And yeah, nobody really goes and studies abroad to go to class. I'm sorry, it's just the way it works. You're gonna learn outside of the classroom. I could talk more in depth about the classes, but I suspect that people really don't care about it.
Well, we like to say it's a learning experience both cheating and outside the classroom.
I learned to speak a little Czech, and in my digital culture and art class, I made a synthesizer. So, I did some pretty cool things in the classroom. No. Prague is extremely easy to get around. The public transportation system is probably the best public transportation system I've ever used anywhere in the world. It runs 24 hours a day, and it's insanely cheap. One ride on the public transportation system will run you $1. If you want to get a pass for like 3 months, it's like $20. It's ridiculous.
This is Scotland. The pictures are just sort of highlights from my trip and different places I got to travel. So I'll start with housing. There's 2 types. There's catered and self-catered. I lived in one of the self-catered, and there's only one catered, and I heard good things about it, but I never went there. I was in Kincaid's Court, which is off the Cowgate, one of the main streets for clubs and pubs, and it has cows on the block in some of the buildings. It's very central. That's what I would definitely recommend. Kincaid's or a central one. It was 1 block from Royal Mile, so there was the castle and Holyrood Palace right there. 2 blocks from Princess Street, which is the main shopping street, Waverley Station, the train station. And it was literally 2 blocks from campus, so I was right in the middle of everything. My flat was a 12-person mixed flat, and every person had a single. So there was a long hallway of single rooms, a big kitchen with 2 refrigerators, 2 stoves, and a microwave. And then there was a huge
mostly Americans. It was 9 American girls, but there were also 3 guys in there, one from Germany, Norway, and Slovakia, and scattered throughout the rest of the building were people from Scotland and England and all over. So it was a nice mix. The housing was mostly freshmen and international students, but there was an age range of around 17 to 26 because they also had grad students and a lot of the students take gap years. So there was a lot of people 18 to 21. There was one of the things that was big was there was no elevators. I was on the 5th floor, so I had to drag all my suitcases and luggage up. But I mean, I got it all up by myself, so I don't think I would have done it really differently. All the dads all got past me, coming up to see me, so they didn't have to help, but it worked. It felt like that first time. Computers, there's internet in the dorms, but one of the things I'd really recommend is registering your computer before you go. They send out a packet. I didn't, I waited. But the way you register is you have to send an email to your school account and wait for an email back. So if you wait till you go, you're looking around for computers or people with internet. And if you try to plug your computer before it's registered, it shuts down the Ethernet port. And the same thing if you plug it into someone else's Ethernet port, so then they have to come and manually set it up again. So it's worth it to just do it before you go. For phones, there's the car phone warehouse, and they have the same phone they give to every international student. It's cheaper to call the U.S. than it is to call other people in the UK, so it's where everybody went for their phones. The university itself, it was founded in 1583, which is kind of incredible to think about, and the main campus is at George Square. It's scattered throughout the city, but it's mostly at George Square. That's where all my classes were. One of the big differences for me was I think the students were given a lot more responsibility at the beginning. I mean, you get a lot of packets of information and all lists of things you have to do, but it's really up to you to do them yourself. So, I mean, I'd see people walking out the door and saying, I'm going to matriculate, and I'd never heard of matriculation, so I just run and follow and end up in the right place. But one of the things you do have to do is talk to the director of studies. They set up appointments, and they will actually help you with